Here at the Whitechapel Gallery, we're delighted that our summer show of 2014 is Giulio Paolini, To Be or Not to Be. Giulio Paolini is really one of the most formative artists in the Italian conceptual art movement. He is one of the most interesting thinkers about the concepts of art, the role of art, the role of the artist, and the way that the visitor relates to art and the role of the artist. On the ground floor of the gallery, we're presenting an introduction and overview of the different ways of how Paolini engages with notions of authorship, notions of the role of the artist, and the role of the artwork. Upstairs, we're presenting an installation and a set of installations, really, of new works from the 1990s to the present day. To my right-hand side, we can see Giulio Paolini's paradigmatic work Delfo from 1965. What we can see is actually a photograph, but it's not a simple photograph. It's actually a photograph printed on canvas. It's a canvas that's dipped into photographic emulsion, breaking the boundaries of media and complicating the idea of the object that we're looking at. What we can see on this object is actually a representation of the back of the very canvas that it is framed on. We see the crossbars of a stretcher obscuring a male figure. The male figure is displayed at the living height of the artist, and we can see that the figure is actually looking back at us as we are looking at the work of art. However, in between us and the gaze of the artist, we can see not just sunglasses and the obscuring representation of that very stretcher, the very means with which the artwork was made. We can also see the artist's crossed arms and a stance that seems to say, I'm a confrontative maker, I'm not a collaborative maker. Throughout the exhibition, Giulio Paolini has dropped hints and clues about the way that he conceives of art, about the way that we look at artworks, and the way that we relate to artworks in an exhibition context. Here we have the work Essere o non essere, To Be or Not to Be, a work from 1995 that sets out on the ground. And what we can see are symbols and hints that point at the artwork's own artificiality, that point at the position of the viewer, and that point at the absence of the artist at the heart of what Paolini believes to be the role of art and the role of the artist. For the 1997 work, Big Bang, we're actually entering an artist's studio. It is a workplace with a workplace on top of it. It is really a play within a play. And the entire moment of the artistic notion of inception is presented to us as a moment of explosion. Ideas are thrown around and discarded. Paper balls are floating around space and dramatically lit up. Giulio Paolini is using stage devices to make us think about the notion of the author and our conceptions of how we identify art. The work of Giulio Paolini really presents a different model of thinking about what an author is. Paolini is not interested in the 19th century idea of authorship as something that comes from inner genius. Much rather, Giulio Paolini thinks of himself as a messenger. Throughout his work, we will encounter the figure of the theater valet, a figure of formal introduction, which presents the work to a visitor and rather points at something that's going to happen in a different place. And what we can see here is, of course, that the theater valets are holding an empty square, pointing towards not just the absence of the author, but also our need to fill in any work of art with meaning itself. On my left-hand side, we can see the work Alpha by Giulio Paolini. And not only is it his own idiosyncratic take on the construction of a cube, but also it shows how Giulio Paolini makes use of art historical references throughout the exhibition. Here we can see the photographic reproduction of a blower of bubbles, a figure used by the French painter Simeon Chardin. Here a young boy is seen blowing a bubble, a perfect geometric form. But whenever the perfect geometric form, his work of art, his manufactured object, comes to perfection, it disappears. The bubble bursts and the reality is gone. For his exhibition and throughout his lifetime's work, Giulio Paolini has really posited a different stance to authorship. He's positioning himself not as a genius maker, but instead as a messenger, as a viewer who points out and looks at works of art that have always been there. This is a different attitude towards making, towards authorship, and a different concept of what an artist is. This stance of the artist as messenger is one of the key concepts of Giulio Paolini's work and one of the key common denominators of the works that we exhibit in the show.